Hi, everyone. This is Dan Peltz from Shift, New Jersey for our latest video podcast. Today, we have a special topic as the state is preparing for its fiscal budget for 2020. One topic that has been advocated for is an increase in the rate that support coordination agencies receive per month per client. If you're listening to this video and are interested in this topic, you may already know that the current rates received by support coordination agencies were set based on the idea that the support coordinator would be a human service assistant and the position would not require a college degree or experience. Of course, this never wound up being the case, as DDD has always required support coordinators to have a college degree plus experience, and have asked support coordinators to take on more duties than the former DDD case managers who made considerably higher salaries. This mismatch between how the rate was set and actual requirements for the job is common knowledge for DDD administrators and something that has been acknowledged as something that eventually needs some type of fix. This is what has brought this discussion to the forefront more and more each year. So I wanted to discuss the importance of advocating for an increase in support coordination agency rate. Other than the rate being set incorrectly to begin with, some key questions are why should a support coordination agency get a higher rate? What is the current rate and why is it inadequate? And what will you, the individual and family, get for an increased rate? And why are some individuals ambivalent to a rate increase? So let's dive right in. And I want to actually start with arguments against the rate increase. There are a handful of individuals that are unhappy with support coordination for essentially two common reasons. One, a lot of individuals want support coordinators to do one particular task that the case managers used to do that we don't, which is audit the group home provider's records on behalf of the individual, which includes checking medication reimbursement, financial records, safety incidents, and so on. This task has now been moved internally within DDD in addition to audits from DHS. And I understand the frustration of many individuals and families that believe that this change could lead to less oversight. I'm not sure if it has, as we don't know how often the records are reviewed now versus before. However, I do believe it is a good idea to have the support coordinator or case manager cultivate a positive relationship with the providers and separate oversight responsibilities. If the providers, group home or otherwise, see support coordination agencies as authority figures that are there to catch them doing something wrong, it could change the nature of the relationship in a potentially negative way. There is no reason why DDD can't do increased site visits in place of support coordination agencies doing so, and I'm sure this is something that has already been advocated for. The second reason is there are simply too many agencies, and many that are poor quality, which for people that have dealt with those bad agencies make the whole system seem inadequate. Some individuals have had these bad experiences because they were auto-assigned to a new or poorly running agency. The reason this may have happened is that there currently are very low standards for becoming a support coordination agency. While the idea is to provide individuals with choice, many agencies are very small and lack the experience, support staff, or ability to do the job. DDD does have strenuous standards for other providers, such as day programs, but anyone that can fill out a Medicaid application gets to be a support coordination agency. The main assurance of quality that families get is from agencies that are released to approve their own plans, which support coordination agencies do have to go through a very lengthy and difficult process to achieve that permission. The plan release process is a great indicator of quality, and our suggestion, if quality is the main concern, is to reward only those agencies that are approved to approve their own plans with an increased rate. So I want to move on from this now and look at the actual responsibilities of support coordinators and support coordination agencies. They just write the plan and call once a month to check in, right? There's actually a lot more that goes into being a support coordinator and a lot that families and individuals don't realize that we wanted to just highlight some examples of. You already know from our prior podcast that support coordinators are liaisons between families, providers, and DDD. We write and revise state plans as needed and manage the budget, but we also do a lot of other things as well. Our organization conducted a month-long time study of our employees and found that the average individual that we work with requires about 5 hours a month of support, not including the travel time it takes to get to and from their location. During this time study, we also had a handful of individuals that required over 40 hours of support in a single month. It is common for individuals in crisis or beginning services to require this amount of time to stabilize. Let me give you some concrete examples. Let's say an individual is about to be imminently homeless. A support coordinator will fill out a housing voucher request form. From there, the individual will receive a very lengthy packet that needs to be filled out. Individuals that are imminently homeless often lack an adequate support system, so the support coordinator is filling out the forms with the individual. The question then becomes, how is the individual going to find an apartment that accepts the voucher? Because not many landlords do, as they might be unfamiliar with DDD's housing voucher itself. The support coordination agency could hire a direct support professional through another agency, but the fluctuating hourly needs and immediacy of the situation often prevent that. Not to mention that's not something that direct support professionals are trained for or able to do at the rates they get paid. So instead, the support coordinator becomes the real estate agent. We call apartments, educate landlords on the voucher, go with the individual on the tour of various apartments, help them fill out the required paperwork. We advocate for the individual with the landlord when their credit score comes back low or non-existent and they don't want to accept them into the apartment. Then we take the individual to the Board of Social Services to request security deposit assistance. We schedule state-mandated apartment inspections and ensure that the landlord remembers to reconnect the gas and electric so it doesn't fail that inspection. We also help the landlord complete all of their paperwork. This happens for most of the housing vouchers that we process, and it is easily a 40-hour month of support for that individual. When an individual is new to the DDD system or support coordination, this is also a very time-intensive time. Support coordinators make dozens of calls to arrange tours with providers and help them often go with them on those tours. Support coordinators get the intake paperwork from the vendor and make sure that their rates are correct in the plan and ensure that the service starts smoothly. We troubleshoot ongoing issues from both the individual and the provider. If the provider bills incorrectly, we have to find out why and help them fix it. If the individual is picked up by their bus at the wrong time, we're calling the provider to find out why and how we can fix that. So there are a lot of issues that can come up in the early period. During our employee time study, we also found that our support coordinators are dealing with PPL 5 hours each month per support coordinator. Self-directed employees and families have a lot of trouble contacting PPL and filling out the paperwork. If the time card or payment request form is not filled out perfectly, it is often rejected without PPL even telling the family or self-directed employee why. So the support coordinators have to stay on hold for an hour to find out what the issue is. And we often have to cut through the customer service representatives' BS when they tell us something that is blatantly wrong. This is something that DDD case managers never had to deal with. Other random tasks that support coordinators have to complete, we troubleshoot Medicaid and figure out common issues, which is, again, something DDD case managers didn't have to deal with and takes a lot of time. We make sure DVRS is doing their job and following up on the referrals to send, and some DVRS case managers can be difficult to get a hold of. We help people sign up for a personal care assistant or the personal preference program through Medicaid. We help individuals find and switch group homes. We find respite homes and experiences for individuals and families. For goods and services requests, we are advocating and then educating providers on how to bill for the service. And as an aside in general, provider billing issues do take up a lot of time for our agency, and this is something that case managers did not have to deal with. We're also filling out forms for assistive technology and environmental modifications, scheduling those evaluations and pushing for months for them to go through. We are often finding transportation for an individual outside of Access Link or provider-sponsored transportation is a very lengthy and difficult process. We ensure providers submit all of the paperwork they need to, including ISP and revision worksheets, addressing enhanced needs forms, and so on. We help individuals transition to and from MLTSS and nursing home facilities, often without payment. And I could go on, but I want this podcast to be under 15 minutes. So point blank, The DDD system is very complicated. There are a lot of procedures, requirements, and nuances to the job. Other than auditing group home records, we are doing the entire job of the DDD case manager. Plus, we are dealing with PPL, provider billing issues, Medicaid issues, and traveling to the individual rather than the other way around. It takes 2 months to train a support coordinator just to be knowledgeable enough to only be decent at their jobs with ongoing support and oversight. We are the first call for the family, provider, managed care organization, and DDD official for every single individual we support. And we love it. This is not a complaint session. We just want to highlight all of the hard work our support coordinators do and advocate for what we believe to be a fair rate of compensation for that hard work. The question is, if all of this is what a support coordinator must be able to do, what is an adequate level of payment? The current rate received by a support coordination agency is $239.81 per month per client. That is, regardless of how many hours we are working with an individual in that particular month, the individual's level of support need, or any extenuating circumstances. Support coordination agencies are also not allowed to reject working with any family or individual, regardless of the situation. So support coordination agencies are essentially asking to be treated as social workers in line with other case managers. It's a difficult job for less than reasonable pay. And with the current rate, the vast majority of support coordinators are making salaries in the mid $30,000 per year range and sometimes in the low $40,000 per year range. We are hoping that a new rate can bring up the salaries to $50,000 per year and above, as most people with bachelor's degrees and experience get in New Jersey. In addition to all agencies offering comprehensive health benefits with retirement plans as our agency does. So the next, I just want to highlight that a group called the Support Coordination Alliance, which Shift New Jersey has recently joined, represents many of the biggest and best support coordination agencies in New Jersey. They have come up with a rate sheet, which I will share at the bottom of this podcast, requesting a rate of $325.84 per month per client, which would completely change the amount of support that we can provide families and individuals in a very positive way. So please read the document, share it, and advocate to your state representative. The next and most important question is, what will changing the rate do for quality? The increased rate will be an absolute game changer regarding quality that we're able to provide individuals and families. I believe there are 4 major areas in which you will see a difference. The first is increased supervisory staff. The second, lower turnover. Third, lower caseloads and more personalized attention. And the last, the ability to attract top talent and very quality individuals to the career of support coordination. One very important thing to consider is a support coordination agency's supervisors and administrators. An increase to the monthly rate received by support coordination agencies will go a long way in hiring and retaining appropriate supervisory staff. Shift New Jersey is a great organization because of our incredible administrative staff that trains new support coordinators. They also review plans for compliance and accuracy and troubleshoot difficult issues. Make sure that quality service is being delivered by all of our support coordinators. You can always have one good or one bad support coordinator in an organization, but when the supervisory staff is strong, the bad support coordinator will not be able to make mistakes and will not survive in the job for long because people are watching. I hear horror stories from employees of other agencies about how they were thrown into the job with very little training whatsoever. This is not the kind of job where you can just read a manual and figure it out. And quality supervisors make quality support coordinators and quality support coordination agencies more than anything else. Another question is, how high do you want caseloads to be? While our caseloads are not significantly high, we could lower caseloads even further by paying our support coordinators more for working with fewer individuals. And that means greater, more individualized support for each individual. Next, we will talk about turnover. Currently, the one complaint we hear about a lot of support coordination agencies is that they have a high level of turnover. While we don't have a high level of turnover, as an industry, there is a lot. And when our agency does have turnover, people have left for big promotions where their salaries are increased by $20,000 a year or higher, which we can't compete with due to the current monthly rate. If you want quality people to stay in the field, the salary has to be high enough for people to support themselves long term in New Jersey as their families and needs grow. This ties into our last area, which is the ability to attract top talent. While our agency does not have high turnover or caseloads, where the rate absolutely affects us is the ability to attract great support coordinators. The amount of qualified and quality resumes we receive is sometimes very few. An increase in the rate means we can expand, attract, and retain the highest quality employees. Do you want truly experienced individuals looking to make a career in this industry, or just an entry-level passerby? Think about the type of person that we will get working in this job if the salary moves from the high $30,000 per year range to the mid $50,000 per year range. To conclude, the support coordination agency rate should be increased as the qualifications and job duties have increased. The support coordinators do more than the old DDD case managers, but are not paid like case managers. In return, individuals, families, and DDD will see a significant increase in quality as quality individuals are attracted to and retained in the field of support coordination. In addition to a quality supervisory staff. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to share this podcast with friends, and please help advocate to your state representatives. There's nothing more that we here at Shift New Jersey enjoy than working with our individuals and families. And we're confident that an increase in the monthly rate will only help us to continue to provide the highest quality services that you deserve. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.